Hello and welcome back to the video lecture series on Python programming. So now that we have covered the first part, which is like connection to the database, let's go forward with the second part, which is like connection with the file. So instead of database, if we want to persist the data in a simple file like a flat file, how can we do that from a Python UI? That's what we are going to look at now. So the simple thing that we are going to do here, we are going to create a simple text file, a flat file, Python data and .text, and whatever data we are going to capture from the screen. I mean, the same thing we did while saving to the database also. We captured 5 fields exactly: roll number, name, age, address, and email. So same 5 data, instead of saving it to a database, we are going to now save it to a flat file named python data.txt, right? So let's look at that. So I will go back to the same spider program. Okay, I mean the same Python program written in Spider. So this was what the interface was looking like, right, when we had it. So the show message was for showing the message after retrieving data from the DBMS, which was MySQL, and save in DB was to save the data captured from the screen to the database, right? That's what we have already seen. Now we're going to add 2 more buttons here, one for saving the data to a file and the second one to retrieve data from the file. Let's do that. Okay, so what we are going to do, we're going to create 2 more buttons. That's the first thing we are going to need. So let's do that first, copy paste. And the first one, let's name it as say show uh, from file. Okay, and the command it is going to call is show file data. Okay, show file data. And the second one being save in file, and the function that we are going to create is save underscore file. Okay, these are the functions which are going to be called, and the row numbers are going to be just the next row numbers. So 6 was the last one, so this is going to be 7. Column numbers, we are going to retain the same thing. If we just look at it, we will, oh no, this is not going to execute because these functions we have to define first, right? So we are going to define the same functions. So def, and then we are going to do this save file. So def save file, and sorry, and then colon, and we are going to define the body. So let's just write the functions body. Okay, so we are going to save it to a file. So first of all, we have to open a file, right? So let's open a file. How do we do that? Simple, there is a open method in Python, right? So file object is going to be created by how do we do it? Open, the open function, and then the first parameter is going to be the function name. So say I name it as Python underscore data dot txt. That's what we decided to name it, right? And then when we are writing to it, we will just give the parameter as w. We can either use single quotes or double quotes, doesn't make a difference. So w. Okay, and then whatever string we want to write, we can just write it there. So file dot write is the function, file dot write, and then we have to give an entire string. So let's kind of copy paste the same string out there. Okay, the same one that we got from the other function. Okay, so we are going to use the same, reuse the same thing. So I will have to tweak a bit, but I will do that, don't worry. And then I'll have to get them from here. So I can get it from here, or what we can also do, instead of dumping it to a string and then again using it, we can put it directly e1.get here. Okay, and then we can directly get the e2.get Okay, these things we don't need to, because we were writing the SQL statement, we were putting these single quotes and all those stuff, right? So same way e3 dot get. So e3 dot get. Okay, then we'll have to have the e4 dot get. So this is going to be e4, and the last one being e5 dot get. Okay, so this is the whole thing, and then there's a write function, right? And then once it's written down, we can just close the file. So file dot close is the function, and we can just call that. And we don't need all this stuff. We can just get this out. Okay, so we are now done with saving the data to the file. A python underscore data.txt file will be created, the text file, and then these strings are going to be fetched directly from the entry boxes, and they're going to be written in the file, and after that we can close the file, right? The same way we have to also create this show file data function, right? So let's also define the show file data function like this. Okay, and then we have to write the body of the function. So here also we will have to again open the file, right? So again we are going to write a file is equal to open. Again we have to write the same python.txt, this thing, the same file name we have to give, right? And instead of w we can use the r. So there are different modes in which you can open the file. There is a w for writing, there is a r, there is a, there is a b for bytes. You can have a combination. If you want to write bytes in a file, you can use wb. If you want to read bytes from the file, you can use rb. So there are different combinations. You can always go and figure that out from the Python documentation, right? So this is how we do it. Let's name this as file1. Okay, just for the sake of distinguishing two variables. And then file1 dot, we have to read the line, right? So we will write read line. Okay, and let's put that in a particular line underscore text, this object. Okay, and then we will just print the same thing. Print, what it will do, it will print in the console itself, right? Print line underscore text. So it is going to print the line. Okay, and then after that file1 dot close again. So this is one thing we have to always remember. Once you are opening a file, please do close it, because otherwise what happens is the file stays in the process list of process as an open file, right? So please do close it. Now we can run the whole thing. So let me run this whole thing. We are now going to have this two buttons added, save in file and show from file. So let me again just put in the roll number 2 and the name as Amit Das, the age as whatever 34, address as Dhakuria, or let's give us Dhakuria, and then email as amit@gmail.com, right? And now I will first do a save in file and see it's working or not. So I do a save in file, right? Let me go and check whether this file has been created or not. So this is the save in file and it should be okay. One thing I need to remember is I need to save the file in a particular location. So if I don't give this, I don't know where it is at the moment written, right? So it's always a good practice to set the particular location where you want to write the file. So I can do that using the OS module, right? We have seen earlier the OS library. So OS dot, we can change the directory. So chdir, change directory, and can specify the directory name. Say I want to save in this particular folder. So let me put it in here. Okay, and when I do that, I can see that now when I run the code, it is going to be saved in that specific folder. Now I don't know where it has saved it, but once I have set the particular location, working location, I can see it. So again, I write Amit Das, age 34, at the Korea, and then email amit@gmail.com, and then save in file. Okay, let's now go and see whether the file has been created. Yes, the file has been created, and it actually contains 2, then Amit Das, then 34, then Dhakuria. Oh, I think the last one I have not made the change. That's why it's again printing this 34 instead of email. In the code, I think that is not being taken care of. That is a typo. That's not a problem. Now let me again trigger this show from file. Okay, once I do that, I should see the same string to be printed in this console, right? So let's do that. See, the same string is getting printed in a console, right? So this is how we can retrieve data from the UI and save it to a text file or whatever type of file we want. And then we can retrieve the data from the text file and show it in the console, or we can show it in the window also. I mean, in the UI also. Okay, so this is how we do that. Now there is one small thing I would also like to add. So this one would be E5. Then the code is perfectly fine. So the other thing I wanted to also share, it's a very important thing, specifically when we work with the machine learning models. See, when we are working with simple data like this one, the string data and stuff like that, and we want to dump it to a particular text file or some other file, it's pretty straightforward. We can use the file open, file write, and all those stuff, right? But when the data that we want to write has a complex format, say for example a dictionary or a nested dictionary or a nested list, those kind of things, then these things are not so straightforward, right? Then we have to use a concept which is called serializability, right? We have to serialize the data, the complex format data, into a straightforward thing which can be dumped to a file. Okay, so basically we have to serialize the data, dump it to a file, and then when we fetch the data, we have to again deserialize the data and show it, right? So for that, Python has two very simple modules which are called Marshall module. One module is the Marshall module, and the second module is the Pickle module. We can use either of the modules. A Pickle is a more flexible one to do a serialization of the data, and to again, once we retrieve the serialized data, how we can uh, deserialize or again convert it back to the original shape and form, right? Let's look into that now. So let's start with the Marshall module first. So I will just start it with import Marshall. Okay, that's a simple thing. Then same way as we did the normal file open and write, we'll have to do the same thing. Only thing is we have to use the serialize function and do it. Okay, so let's before that create a simple dictionary object. So dict underscore text. Okay, that's a simple dictionary object. How will we do that? Simple second brackets, and we just type in a few key value pairs. So let me type in as the first one as say roll, pretty much in the same form as we were having. Roll, say 3, then comma, then we have the name. Okay, sorry, name, and we again have a colon. We put in some name, say Robert uh, Wiles. Okay, and then we have the phone number. So phone, and we give a phone number, say 98321998843. Okay, then we give a email. Okay, email, and the email ID we give as say rob@yahoo.com. Okay, so pretty much we are done. So this is a simple dictionary object. Okay, then we simply open a file. So name of the file we give as file under if underscore Marshall. Okay, Marshall, and we do a simple file open. So one thing that you have to note here. So let me first name it. So Marshall dot txt. Just have it as a text file only, no problem. And then the mode, one thing we have to note here is we have to definitely give W because we have to write the content. But along with that, we have to give a B because the content when serialized is in a byte format, right? So we do that. Then the data. So let me name the data underscore Marshall. We have to do a serializing of the data. So how do we do that? Simple. We do a Marshall dot dumps. There is a function dumps. So we have used the Marshall dot dumps and we give the value of the, so basically the text that we want to dump. So this text, okay, and we then we have the data in the serialized form, and then either we can give the file name as is or we can just write if underscore Marshall, okay, dot, what do I write? Write. Okay, write, and then within braces we give the data Marshall. Okay, so we give this, and then ultimately file Marshall, sorry, if Marshall, if underscore Marshall dot close. Okay, and this one is if underscore, not if bracket. Okay, so we are pretty much done with writing the code. Let's run and see. So we do it. There is a okay, there is a error. What do we see the error? It was a very silly error. I didn't mention the open here. So let me just run it again. One more problem. It's no, this is fine. So now let me go to the this one. So here this one is created. See, the Marshall as the serialized dictionary object is being dumped in the marshall.txt file, right? Now we are going to do the other thing. So deserialization or unmarshalling, right? We can call that. So how do we do that? Again, we have to open the file, but now this time we have to open it in a read mode, right? So instead of WB, we have to write it as RB, right? Now we write it as unmarshal data, and that's going to be marshal dot load. The function is going to be load, and here we have to give the if underscore Marshall, the file object. Okay, that is done. Now let me just print this data and see whether the expected, the original dictionary object is coming back or not. Let's just see that. It should be. So in the console, we should see that. So let's do it. Okay. So let's name this as if unmarshal, and the same thing here if unmarshal, and we give the if unmarshal dot close. Okay, so that the things are pretty clear now. So we do it. See, we are getting back the original. So it's picking up from the marshal.txt, it is getting the binary serialized data in the binary form, and then it is, when it is loading it, it is getting back the original dictionary object, and we are able to print that and see the original dictionary object, right? So this is how we can serialize or deserialize using the Marshall module in Python. Now let's try the same thing using the Pickle module, right? So I will just first, for the sake of saving time, I'm just going to first copy paste the stuff. So this is going to be Pickle, okay? Since we are going to use the same, or let me just tweak it a bit so that we can figure out that there is a difference. So instead of Robert Wiles, we name it as, say, Nora Jones, okay? And phone number, we just make a bit of difference. Okay, and this is something we will also change, Nora. Okay, fine. And this one, instead of if Marshall, we name it as if Pickle, just to make the code look distinctly different. Otherwise we may mix up. That's why we are doing this. So again, the same WB, because we have to write a binary format. Instead of Marshall data, we make it as a pickle data. Okay, and we have some other things to do, so we'll do that. And this is going to be different. We don't need this, and this is pickle data. Okay, let's now make the changes according to the. So first of all, pickle dot pickler, we have to use the pickle dot pickler, and here we are going to use this one, the file object. Okay, once we do that, then we have to use this pickle. This is not pickle data, we can name it as pickler, just pickler. And then we use the pickler object dot, we can use the dump. Okay, and it's going to dump in the file, and then we can just close this. Okay, we can just close this. So this, how, what is going to do, it's again going to create a pickle.txt file, and then this serialized data, it is going to dump in the pickle.txt file, right? Only thing is, instead of Marshall, we are using now the functions of the pickle module, right, of Python. So let's run this. One argument, so it is expecting an argument. Let me just pass it on. So I missed the argument, this dict text, I missed it. So I'll just give it here, and then again I will run the same thing. I don't need to use this because it's already done. So let me run this thing. Now it should create a pickle.txt file, and we should be able to see that binary data in it. See, the same kind of binary data which was there in the Marshall file. Okay, it's going to be pretty much looking, it's going to look pretty much the same. Nora Jones and the original Marshall file, it was having Rob, yeah, I mean the Robert Wiles, right? The same kind of a thing, right? So now again we are going to do the same thing. We are going to unpickle or deserialize the data. Okay, so that we can look at the data in the original shape and form. So again we are going to use here this file name as unpickle. Okay, if underscore unpickle, and instead of Marshall.txt we name it as pickle.txt, and the same mode RB is fine. Okay, and we are going to change this thing. We are going to do that 1 second, and again we have to close it once we are done. Oh, sorry, once we are done. Okay, so what do we do here? We have to now create the unpickler. Okay, unpickler. And how do we do it? In the same way. So pickle dot unpickler. Okay, we did a pickle dot pickler, and here we are doing the unpickler, and we are again going to pass the file object as a parameter, and then we have to get the data back, right? So how do we do that? So data underscore unpickle. Okay, unpickle. Okay, and this one we are going to do pickler dot load. Pickler dot what is that? Pickler dot, oh, I'm sorry, this is going to be unpickler dot load. Yes, so here we're going to load it. Okay, and once we do that, I should get this data back, and I will print that data. Okay, so let's run this code again. So see, we are getting back the data, the original data which was in the dictionary object. We pickled it or serialized it and saved it in the text file pickle.txt. Then we use the unpickler to unpickle it or deserialize it and again show it. right? So this is how you can do serialization of complex data forms and then store it in a file to persist the data. Okay, so hope we are now going to be able to build a simple UI, and the data from the UI we can either save it in a RDBMS or a simple RDBMS like MySQL, or if we want we can save the data in a flat file or some other form of file. And once we do that, in case we feel the need, in case the complex data form is complex, if we feel the need, we can serialize the data and dump it to the text file, right? Using the Pickle or the Marshall objects modules. Okay, so I think that is all about this session. Thank you very much.